All right, welcome back. Let's continue our conversation with candidate Nancy Lord. She's running for the fifth district judicial. I can't.
5th Judicial District.
Thank you, man. I'll get it one of these days. Let me just put up the lower third there, and people can read it instead of me trying to stumble over it. We were talking before the cameras started rolling tonight, and you were talking about activism, judicial activism, and how you're not a big fan of that. Decorum and prestige and honor and respect and all that.
Correct. There's several different ways a judge can be improperly active. When judges try to make law from the bench, when they use the bench as a place to change the law, that's judicial activism, and that's not a judge's role. A judge is supposed to decide if something's unconstitutional. It's not something we expect to see very often in district court, but in the appellate level at the Supreme Court, it becomes very important. But a judge has certain powers from the bench. What got me involved in this race was I had an experience where the judge was ultra virus, and in a particular case, 86'd me as my client's attorney.
Ultra
virus, beyond her power.
Oh, okay.
Me, the client's father, and one of the client's employees from the property ordered me and my client to pay money to the adverse party without looking at the evidence.
Wow.
And sat there on the bench going on about how much power she had.
That's an edict.
And did this without a written order. So the Supreme Court of Nevada said that the petitioner had failed to produce an order. Well, my petition said right in it, there's no order. And so this is over the top. And even initiating programs, I understand that there's some issue with business licenses. Well, I'm not happy about the business licenses either, but I'm not going to engage in judge nullification to go with jury nullification and, not respect that law. That's for the town board and the people of Pahrump to deal with, not the bench.
I can appreciate that because it can have the appearance that somebody can drag you in and manipulate you or have things manipulated with the judge. That judge is an activist, and let's have an impassioned plea and see if she or he will go our way with it. It's just not your place to do that.
Exactly. I would be very offended if an attorney came in on a drug case and started appealing to my opposition of the war on drugs. That has no place on the bench. The law is the law. And you could make just as much an argument that if a judge wants to see that law change, she should give humongous sentences. That one of the reasons people have put up with it is perhaps that a lot of people are just getting a slap on the wrist, and you could say, well, I think the war on drugs is really silly, so I'm going to sentence you to 20 years for a joint. Now take it to the state legislator and get rid of this silly law. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But you can make that argument just as easily as you could make the argument of, she'll give everyone probation because she doesn't believe in it.
Right.
It's not my place to believe or not to believe.
And once you head down that path, it's hard to...
It's very hard.
It's hard to say
change.
no when people come not.
Exactly, because everyone has a cookie.
Right.
Everyone has a cookie.
Right.
But it's also very important not to decide based on the paper. There's a reason people come to court, and I've been told. I believe my opponent has said that she doesn't need any help, and she knows what she's going to do before a case starts. Well, wait a minute. If she's already made the decision, there's no reason for a hearing. There's no reason to take testimony. I see a misunderstanding of some proprieties. To make a big deal about being appointed by the governor, she was appointed as a fill-in. She has every right to run to retain it, but this is where the voters come in. If going with whoever the governor selects is what people should do, then why not just let the governor select everybody? County commissioners, town board.
Right.
Why do we need elections?
Yeah, interesting point. Hey, before we go, I wanted to touch on this clearing the air issue, as I call it. And you said that your opponent, who's currently sitting on the bench, kind of took you to task for attending something and colored it
Okay.
in a certain way that it
Okay,
was
that's
not?
no, that's not exactly true.
Okay,
It's
then
close.
let's clear
Okay,
the air.
I'll clear the air.
You tell us what happened.
My opponent did not speak to me directly,
Okay,
but a lady who I've been told is one of her supporters did.
okay. And what was
And
the event that you attended? That
It was
she-
a Republican women's meeting, and a gal asked me a question in the question and answer session and accused me of having sought an endorsement from the Republican Central Committee by participating in their videotaped interview process. All that they did, and Mr. Searles was kind enough to step in and back me up there, was they had a list of questions of things that were very, very important to them and are very important. Some very scary things happening in our society. And they wanted to test the knowledge level and the feelings of the candidates, and were very careful to make it clear that that it was not about how I would rule. They just wanted to know how Nancy Lord, the person,
right.
how much I had read, and how I felt about certain things. It was very appropriate. It was simply an educational interview to learn how the candidates, and not just Judicial, everybody, felt about their issues, not just hear a prepared stump speech.
Okay.
Perfectly appropriate for a political party.
Okay.
Nothing about an endorsement. So I was told that I was going to get endorsed, and by going, I was seeking an endorsement. And I said, well, there was never an endorsement here. It was not on the table. It was simply responding to questions, and it would have been rude not to.
Mm-hmm.
I have been told that my opponent and Mr. Kent have threatened to sue the Central Committee
Wow.
after they didn't take part in the process and now learn that the Republican Central Committee is going to make that fact public. Well, they should have gone, just like she should have debated me.
Right.
She wants to talk to me, let her do it face-to-face, one-on-one.
Right.
When Marla Zlotek challenged Judge Davis, they had a debate right here in this station. I know because I moderated it. And he took the trouble to drive down from Tonopah.
I hope you do. Is there a possibility of debates between the two of you before the election?
Well, she's going to have to move pretty quick, because on Tuesday, on the 28th or 29th, I forget the exact date, I have a calendar call on a federal case that is probably going to keep me tied up through the election. So I have to trust my supporters here. I've got an innocent man to defend in Las Vegas. So if I'm not around for the last week of the campaign, please understand, and please don't pull your support, and tell your friends about me. And right now, I really want to be judge, but right now I have a commitment to my clients, and I cannot jeopardize a man's freedom because of my desire to be judge. So I will be in Las Vegas for the last week of this election season.
I believe any right-thinking person could support that stand. We've been with Nancy Lord tonight, and Nancy, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And that'll do it tonight for Tuck TV. Tune in 6 p.m. Tuesday through Friday on 46.3, and we're going to have more candidates for you in the future. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
You're welcome.